fans. Welcome to another exclusive interview brought to you by ProZone Gaming Division. I'm your boy UDNxChoc, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with the head coach of the Georgia Bulldogs, Roscoe Pico. Coach, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, man, it's great to be here with you guys. Look forward to this interview.
Well, Coach, I would say it was an incredible season for the Bulldogs. Let's start at the beginning. How did you prepare the Bulldogs during the offseason to emerge as such a dominant force in the SEC?
Well, the guys came out and they knew what they wanted to do. We came up short the year before. Michigan won the national title, and we did not like that. We had guys on the team who had never not won a national title, so they were determined to come in this season and do what they had to do in order to hoist that trophy at the end of the year.
Well, Georgia maintained a stellar record through the most of the season. Was there a particular moment or turning point that defined the team's resilience and success?
When we came out against Alabama in the SEC championship, and they did not show up. In the beginning of that game, our guys, our offensive line didn't block well at all. Our running backs, Trevor Etienne, I believe, was the best player in the country. And he couldn't get involved in the game plan because our O-line would not block Alabama's D-line. And then whenever we would throw the ball early, key situations, we had guys drop the ball. And it wasn't until, I took them in at halftime, chewed their asses, and let them know this is not Georgia football, that they came out in that second half and they played a little bit of football. But after that point, I could see it in the guys' eyes. They weren't going to let me down again. So, we battled back from that moment and were able to hoist the trophy at the end of the year.
I'm glad you said something about the SEC championship because that was just my next topic. That was a tough loss, no doubt. Uh, you already talked about what basically went wrong, but how would you have processed that performance? What do you think that you probably could have done better as a coach to get them ready for those mishaps that was in that game?
Most coaches take the blame for a situation like that. I did not prepare my guys well enough. We prepared them. The plays that we were calling were the right plays to call. We get the block that we're supposed to get. It's a big play running the ball. There were two key third downs early in that game where we had to turn around and put the ball, and that's how we got down 3 scores, where the ball literally went through the hands of their wide receiver. And it was guys who they catch the ball, they're scoring touchdowns. So, I would not say it was something that we did as a staff. My players just thought, at least this is how I feel. I believe they thought we can just show up. We're Georgia. We're going to win this game. Alabama's already got a loss. We're undefeated. We can just show up and we're going to win. And Alabama punched them in the mouth. They made them realize, you have to show up for every game you play, or the team that you're playing against will beat you. And that had not been the case the entire year until that point. And, once those guys understood that, they showed up in the second half. But at that point, it was already too late. But, like I said earlier, I could see it in their eyes. They were not going to let us down again. They were not going to play like that again. And sure enough, they did not.
No doubt they did not. Because my next topic we're going to talk about, we're going to fast forward to the college football playoffs, where you faced Alabama again in its semifinals. This time, your dogs came ready to play that game. What adjustments did you make for that rematch, and how did it feel to get that victory?
Oh, it felt great to get that victory, man. I'll tell you what, when you get an opportunity to play the team who bloodied your nose and beat you, and en route to winning that game, they won the Heisman Trophy for their player. You know, it felt great to get that revenge game, and I was determined to make Trevor Etienne walk off that field and the entire nation know that he was the best player in the country. And he went out there, he did his thing in the semifinal game, and, you know, our player showed up from snap one. That was the difference between the SEC championship game and the semifinal game. You know, my guy showed up from the very first snap of the game. And it was a back and forth game. It was a great game, you know, back and forth, back and forth. My guys, you know, kept chopping wood. They kept chopping wood. They kept chopping wood. And once we got that lead, I knew the game was over because my guys showed up from the beginning of the game. And I knew that I was the better coach, and I knew I had a better team. I just needed my guys to show up, and they did in that game. And we went out there and we you know, handled Alabama, did what we wanted to do. That overpowered team that they had, it wasn't enough for the thumbs of the coach to overcome the Georgia Bulldogs. And, you know, we hoisted that semifinal trophy. And then we went on to the national championship game where we played a tough Penn State team. But my guys are ready for that game.
Now, come on, coach. Don't be so modest. Give me an example when you was in that locker room when you were giving them that prep speech for the semifinals. Was it like the Kirby Smart, like, your ass has prepared for this shit 365 days? Like, you gotta give me an example of how you lit a fire up their ass.
You know, one of my favorite movies of all time is Remember the Titans. In the sidelines, you know, they were playing a game where you had the white head coach who thought he deserved to be the head coach of that team, and he was passed over for Herman Boone. And they were playing in a game in which the referees had the game rigged so that he would be the head coach so that they could fire Herman Boone. And he brought his guys to the sidelines and he told them, I want you to, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, you know, he wanted them to play with the tenacity so that team forever remembered the day they played the Titans. Oh, and that was basically what I said to my guys. When you leave this field today, not just Alabama, but the entire nation watching, I want them to walk away from this game thinking this is the best team in the country. We just witnessed something that was remarkable. Mm-hmm. You had a team come out here and have their way with the mighty Alabama offense and the Heisman Trophy winner. My guys went out there. They were determined to win that game. They were determined to not let the fans down in Athens and really the entire state of Georgia. And as this coalition that we're putting together here in Athens grows, we're going to take over the nation. We're going to be the premier destination for every team, every recruit, every eyeball that's on TV. They're going to want to watch these Georgia Bulldogs play. And, you know, our first stepping stone to that was that semifinal game against Alabama, because we had to show the nation that what they saw in the conference championship was a fluke. What they saw in the second half is who we are. What they saw in the first half, I don't know who that team was. And my guys came out and they were determined to do that, and they did that. I couldn't be more proud of the way they responded in that game. You know, the second half of that conference championship, I was very excited about some of the things we were able to do. A lot of it was, you know, not our game plan. We want to run the ball down your throat. And in that second half, we had to go to the air. And Carson Beck did his thing. You know, he stepped up. He showed me in that game he can make throws. So when we played later, in that semifinal game, Carson Beck was a player of the game. Even though, you know, Trevor Etienne ate, and he moved the ball when we needed to move the ball, Carson made big throw after big throw after big throw. And I needed him to make those throws. He walked away with, I believe, 285 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game, no interceptions. That was a great game for Carson. And
I remember that game.
Up with another great game. And he was. He really was. And you know, we're gonna miss him this year. We got to go out and we need another quarterback, to replace him. But, there's no better way to go out as a dog than to win a national title. And he missed out on his opportunity, the first year as a starter. But he learned from that, and he came back, for his senior year, which we were ecstatic about him, returning to the team. He wanted to go out a champion. I was just happy that we were able to do that for him.
Well, you did a great job getting them ready, Coach. Because I seen a completely different team in that game, and I was like, "Yep, that's going to be the team to beat in the playoffs." Because the way y'all came out from the first snap, because everybody was talking, they were like, "Okay, since Georgia's so dominant, why did they get hit in the mouth by Alabama?" But you proved the naysayers wrong, and I couldn't be even more proud of the Bulldogs and for your team, Coach.
Yeah. We got hit in the mouth. You're right about that. And like I said earlier, the guys responded. That was the biggest thing. They responded. If they had laid down in that conference championship and just let Alabama walk all over us, like I've seen a lot of other players, or a lot of other users and coaches do, once the game gets out of hand, they phone it in. My guys fought back. They were on the ropes. They got knocked down a couple times. They got up and they fought back. And they made it a split decision at the end of the match. And that's all I can ask. How you respond to situations will determine how you respond to a lot of things in life. These kids got up off the ground after getting their asses whooped. I'm not gonna put it any other way. They got their asses whooped in that first half. They got up and they came back. We made some adjustments at halftime. We saw what they were running. We made some adjustments, and we came back. And we had an opportunity, to win that game, but we didn't. And, I will take responsibility for not winning that game. Because my kids did give us an opportunity in the second half to win that game. I just didn't, make the play that I needed to make. So, I did say earlier, I'm not going to say, it was something the coaching staff should have done. I will say this, as I thought more about that question. My kids gave me an opportunity to win that game, and I didn't win it at the end. At the same time, we should never have been in that situation to begin with if we had responded the way we needed to respond from the very beginning of the game. So moving forward, that's how we will approach all things here at Georgia, is hit them in their mouth first, stomp on their throat when they're down. That's going to be our motto. And I just, got to hope that the kids all carry through with that and, are determined to leave their legacy here in Athens. There's no greater thing than the hoist that national championship, though. It's only been done, I believe, 3 times here. 4 now. But, we're going to continue to chop away at this wood, man, and build something that is unassailable by the rest of the teams in the country. Because our standard is going to be so high that no one will be able to touch us.
The new Alabama, I see. A new Nick Saban on the rise. Uh-oh.
No disrespect to Coach Saban, but his championships came in the age of, paying players under the table. Alabama was great at doing that. They could go, I'll kick you 50 G's and get you a brand new Dodge Charger, and that's how they were operating with things over there at Bama. And, they were able to get away with it for so long. Hey, they were able to get away with it for so long because they didn't have the deep pockets for the NIL, and I think that's why Nick went ahead and walked away from the game. He understood, I can't buy these best players anymore because everybody could throw money at them now, where we was just, giving them bags, McDonald's bag of cash. And now you can't do that. Same thing that, Jeremy got caught for over in Tennessee. Where do you think he learned it from? That wasn't something that was brand new. He spent years in Saban's staff. And suddenly, as soon as he gets to Tennessee, he's getting busted for something that they had been doing for years at Alabama. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't Nick Saban himself who dimed him out. because Germany was getting
Yeah.
sloppy. So, Nick won championships. Once he got the players there, yeah, you got to win the championships. Yes, he won championships. But the difference between him and I is I don't plan on letting anybody else rise to the top. There were years where, we were the favorite to win over here in Athens, even though we didn't win. But we were still the favorite to win. And there were years where, Joe Burrow went out there and set all kind of records and beat Nick Saban en route to doing it. There were years where, he lost to Clemson and Deshaun Watson, and he lost to Ohio State. We don't ever plan on being in a situation where we're losing national championship games. If we get to that game, we're determined to win it. And that's, the mindset and the mantra that we're going to work with here in Athens. If we get there, if you let us get there, we're walking away with that trophy.
I couldn't agree more, Coach. From me rebuilding Clemson, our new motto for this year is, "What is your purpose for practice?" Dion said it himself. I practice to be the best ever. He says nowadays these kids don't want to practice to be great. They just practice to be good. If you want to be great, it's like where you do deals, you go soft, I go soft. No, not at Clemson anymore. It is, what is your purpose for practice? In any endeavor that you do in life, I tell my guys, what is your purpose for practice? If you're not going to practice to be the best ever, you don't need to be on this team. So let's move on. So the national.
Before we move on, though, I got something to say about that right there. Okay. No disrespect to Deion Sanders, no disrespect to you, coach, over at Clemson, but I'm from the mantra of Allen Iverson. Practice. We talking about practice, not the game, not the game. Practice. I don't prep for anybody. I don't watch film on guys. I don't care about that. When I get out there on the field, I'm going to run what I run. There's some guys, like when we play Penn State, which, you might ask about. There's some guys that you just know how they play. But practice? No, man. I don't, I played dominoes growing up. Study long, study wrong. That was a saying on the dominoes table, when somebody was taking too long to make their play. So I don't like to practice for something because then you can't practice for the unexpected. When you run up against something that you didn't practice for, a lot of people panic. So I go into everything fresh eyes. I might know a player's tendencies, but I'm not going to watch film on them to see what they run. And the same thing goes for, I don't want to come out with a 15-play script. This is what I'm going to do on offense. No, I'm going to go through my play sheet. What I see that I like, I'm going to call. And if somebody's setting something up, I'll find something in that play sheet that will work for what I've seen after my first drive, after my second drive. And that was one of the adjustments we made with Alabama. When we came out, we found a way to get those guys to block up front that they weren't doing in the first game. Instead of trying to run outside, we ran the ball straight up their mouth. And just punched him in the mouth. And when the fourth quarter came around, Trevor was eating. Not just Trevor. Robinson was eating as well. Both of those guys did their thing in that game. And it was because that offensive line, we made an adjustment between the second game and the conference championship and the semifinal. The adjustment we made allowed us to punch Alabama in the mouth. That's not something that I don't think anybody was able to do all year long. The one loss that they had on the season, I can't remember who it was against, but it wasn't a loss that the coach accumulated himself. It was something that happened with an advance on him, and he got the loss on the advance. So, they were pretty much an unblemished team. No one was really able to crack that nut, but we were able to do it in the semifinal game. I was happy with the results of it. But, Dion is a Hall of Fame player, and I believe he could one day be a Hall of Fame coach. But practice, not the game, practice. I care more about that game because my guys practiced like dogs before the SEC championship game. It came game time, they did not show up. I'd rather my guys show up for that game than in practice. But that's just me.
No, I completely understand, and no disrespect, coach, at all. None, none at all. I don't take no disrespect or anything. You have the way that you do things. Clemson has his way it does things. But let's move on to the national championship game. The big kahuna. The national championship game against Penn State was nothing more than a legendary game. Take us through that final drive that you may have put into Carson Beck's head to make him so dominant on that drive. Because as you remember, I was commentating that game and I was blown away with how fast he got up the field and how poised he was in that pressure situation. What was the message to your team and to Carson Beck in that final drive where he led the Dogs to a win?
Coming into that game, with the way my guys played in the semifinal game, a lot of you may not believe this, a lot of people won't believe this, but I knew we were winning the national title. I knew when we won that semifinal game, with the way that my guys showed up, they got the message of not practice, but the game. They understood that when it was game time, when them lights is on, show up, you play Bulldog football. And that's exactly what they did in the semifinals. So coming into that game, we were extremely confident that we were going to win that game. And when we ran up against Penn State, no disrespect to Penn State's coach, but I knew I was a champ. All I had to do was just make the plays, and I was a champion. And for the most part of the game, we did that. And Penn State made a run late in the game when they took the lead. There was a little over a minute left in the game. Carson Beck had to go down the field with a little over a minute. Trevor, got a couple runs here and there, but it was mainly Carson's arm that got us down the field. And he made the throws that a lot of players in the country could not make. And I was, ecstatic for the young man that he was able to do that on the national stage and show everybody, he's the best quarterback in the country. Jalen Milroe, Jalen didn't even get to play in that game. Carson got to play in that game. And he made the throws up the sidelines that he needed to make. He made the throws. There was one play there late in the game where it was his fourth read. The fourth read on the play. He got from 1 to 2 to 3 and came back to 4, which set up the game-winning touchdown. You don't understand how meaningful that was to this coaching staff, that he trusted his offensive line to block for him, that he trusted his eyes to go from 1 to 2 to 3 and settle on 4, who was wide open, and made the throw to allow the receiver to get up the sidelines and pick up another 7 yards before getting out of bounds. That throw right there should have made every GM in the country's pecker go hard. Because at that moment in time, Carson Beck is that guy. He's the guy that can get us a Super Bowl championship. That is what should have been going through those guys' mind. Because he's the guy who drove his team down the field. But like I said, it might have been a minute and 19 seconds, somewhere around there. And that's being generous. I don't even. No, it was a minute and 19 seconds. It was a minute and 19 seconds on the clock when he started that final drive. And he took us down the field with a minute and 19 seconds and was able to get us into the end zone. See, before he ever even started that drive, we were only up 3 points. So I made a decision as a coach, burn the timeouts, which I burned 2 of them, and allow Penn State to score a touchdown. We had so much confidence in Carson and how he had been playing in that game that we knew he could take us down the field and score. He just needed the time to do it. So we burned our timeouts to preserve time, and then we parted the sea and let Penn State run in. The guy over there at Penn State, he wasn't smart enough to realize this guy's letting me score, but not just that. I am leaving too much time on the clock. And the difference between him and I was down, we had 30-something seconds on the clock, and we were inside the 5-yard line. I could have scored. But I ran the ball to kill the clock some more. And then I lined up and hurry up and audible to a pass play. I had a suspicious feeling that if after running the ball, if I threw it, their entire defense would commit to the ref. And they did exactly what I thought they were going to do. So we lined up, bam, hurry up right after running a dive on them. We lined up and hurry up. Let the clock tick down. And it got down inside of, I believe it was inside of 11 seconds before I snapped the ball. And the only reason I left 11 seconds on the clock, as much time on the clock as I did, was in case we did not score, I still have 2 more plays. So when we lined up in that hurry up, I sent Carson the signal, slant, hit the slant. And he understood what the play was. He understood who to throw to. Guy caught 1 ball all game, and that was the 1 ball he caught. And it's for a touchdown to win the national title game. But Carson, he's the man over here in Athens. He'll never have to pay for a drink at a bar ever again in his life in Athens. Because he took us down the field with a minute 19 left on the clock. He got us into the end zone. A lot of guys, they'll come up just short. They'll get in the red zone, booty hole get tight, and they'll call the wrong play. They'll make a wrong throw. Everything about him was poised. Everything about him was poised. Like I said, whatever NFL team drafts him, they're getting a franchise guy who can take them to a Super Bowl. Yeah, that's Carson Beck, man. Carson Beck is, Carson Beck. Those abilities that guy has, they're going to be hard to replace here in Athens, But we got a couple guys on the radar. There's one guy that we really wanted, Jalen Daniels, but he won't even mess with us at all. He won't accept my calls or anything. So, we're going a different way with it, and hopefully we get some of these guys that we're going after.
Which is crazy to me because I look at Georgia now as quarterback to be honest. Stetson Bennett, 2 national titles. Now Carson Beck, a national title. It seems like if you're going to be the starting quarterback for the Bulldogs, you're going to get a national title. So that was beyond me whenever I looked into the transfer portal this morning and I was like, only 1 quarterback wants to go to Georgia? Oh, well.
We got a couple guys who want to come here. But there were only 2 guys on our board. We had Arch Manning and we had Jalen Daniels. That's it. Those are the only 2 guys at the quarterback position that we were going after. And only Arch is entertaining our calls. Jalen, he didn't have us in his top 5, so he didn't want to make a trip here or anything, which is wild. His big selling point, the reason he's leaving Kansas, is because their brand exposure is terrible. Well, you get no better exposure than playing in the national title in the SEC championship every year, which is something that we're going to do here in Athens, as long as we have a quarterback to move this machine. But, I wish the best for the kid. Whoever's in his ear advising him is advising him wrong. None of the schools that he is tripping to and interested in, LSU, I forget who else he's messing with over there, USC, they're all garbage schools, That's why their kids are in mass exodus out of their program. Because they ain't playing for nothing. And, it's championship or bust over here in Athens. And in order to get to the championship, you're going to have a whole lot of exposure. So why a kid wouldn't come here, I couldn't tell you. Maybe he didn't want the competition because even if he was in the portal, we were still going to recruit Arch if Arch wanted to come to us. So there was going to be a competition of who was going to be the starter. So maybe he was afraid of competition. I don't know. I can't tell you. All I know is we're going to move forward with what we got. The guys that we got here in-house right now, they're going to have to work their asses off to make this team. There's going to be a lot of cuts. We're getting rid of a lot of trash this year. There's some guys here at Georgia who are not going to put in the work that we need them to, and they're going to have to go. And we've got a full classes coming. We're trying to bring in a full 35. We only got room for 17, I believe it is. Might be 18. So there's going to be about 16, 17 guys who are going to, have to look themselves in the mirror. Like Dion told the Colorado guys, I'm new here. I've got a year under my belt in Athens, but I'm new here. A lot of you guys, were here beforehand. But I'm bringing my own luggage, and it's Louis.
So, took a little page from Dion on that one when he went to
Coach
Colorado.
Prime, he's got some sayings that I dig. So I got a lot of guys who they're going to have to make tough decisions. They're going to have to put in the work and make it tough for me to cut them from the offseason. But there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to get cut. And it's going to be the guys who thought, just being on the program is enough.
Well, I see your recruit.
Being part of the program is enough.
6 5-stars, and they were immaculate 5-stars.
Louis, man. That's my Louis.
They were immaculate
right there.
5-stars. They were like the number one. They were, from what I looked, you had the number 1 player in the country, number 2 player in the country, number 3 player, and the number 4 player in the country coming to Georgia. Because you bring in some Louis, definitely.
No, we've got the number 4 player nationally. He's a run stopping linebacker. Sam Fong is his name. He's coming out of Louisiana. We went in there, pulled a coup on LSU, and took the best player in the state. He's also the best player at his position. We got an offensive tackle. He's number 10 player in the country, Robert Owen. He's number 1 player from our state. That's the one thing that you have to do at any school that you are. You have to defend your state. No one can go into your state and take the best player. You allow another university to come into your state, say Alabama or Clemson or Texas, whoever, Ohio State. You allow these teams to come into your state and take your home talent, you have no business coaching. So that's the first thing that we do every year. We throw up a tent around our state, and then from there we go out and we get the best players around the country that we can get. But our team is a Georgia team. We have a fertile ground here in Georgia, and we just need to go out and select key pieces in other states, to round out our classes. But, we've got Robert Owen. He's coming in. He's number 10 player nationally. He's a pass blocking tackle. He's going to protect that blind side of these quarterbacks.
He was 6'7",
we get ours
like
we're hoping.
That's a big boy.
6'7", 312. Yeah, he's a big boy. And he's going to protect that blind side. And what's key about Robert is when the game matters most, when he locks in. And he loves playing on the road, so he won't be rattled when playing on the road. So it's a great thing to have. We got Rob Clemens, also a Georgia guy. Rob's going to have to show us a lot, We offered him early in the process, and he's got some nice attributes to him as far as his abilities and his mentals go. But he's going to have to show that he can compete here at Georgia. Not the fastest guy, but if he can show that he can compete here, he'll make the team. And we'll see what goes on with him. We got Luis Avila, another 5-star guy. He's number 20 player nationally, number 2 player at defensive end. He's number 1 player in the state of Florida. Like I was telling you before, you can't win games if you letting people go into your state and take the best player in your state. Well, we went into Florida and we took the best player in Florida.
Yeah,
Sure as hell did. And that is that defensive end, Mr. Avila. And the last 5-star, or last 2 5-stars, I should say, we got Gio Nevis, speed rushing defensive tackle out of Georgia. He's the number 2 player in his position, number 3 player in the state, and he's the number 25 player nationally. So here in Georgia, we got the number 1, the number 2, and the number 3 players in our state. Lock down your home field. That's what you got to do. And then we got Max LeBeau, who he's a deep threat wide receiver now. He's going to go deep on a lot of people. A lot of people. He's a blazer. You know, he's a track guy, blazing fast. But the great thing about Max is when it comes to weather games, he won't experience any of it. He's a natural. So, and he is a Hall of Fame natural. When he gets on the field, he's going to kill shit. And he's a special player. I can't wait to get him out there. He's got elite development with a 97 speed. Like, he's going to
Oh yeah, he's gonna
do
be
some
making a
special
coach.
things here at Georgia. But he
Mm-hmm.
was the number 4 player in the state of Florida, and we snatched him out. There's a few other players, you know, that get us excited. Over here, we got Glenn
I see you have a
Carruthers.
really good running back coming too, from what I've seen.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's Rob Clemens. Like I said, he's gonna have to show us that he can play here at Georgia, because every year there's gonna be players that come in here in the
With Nate
recruiting classes
Frazier,
that are gonna be nice.
I see you running
And
with Nate
Nate
Frazier a
Frazier's,
lot.
yeah, Nate Frazier's, Nate Frazier. The crazy thing is Nate Frazier was gonna redshirt the entire year, but as he would get scrub time in games, every player gets 4 games before they've got a red shirt. He demonstrated to us that his running style is unique and it's special. Nate is going to be a very, very special player here. So we went ahead and figured that he's going to be out of here in 3 years anyway. We might as well let him play. I'm hoping that he sticks around for a 4th year and, he gives us 4 years of playing time. But I don't think Nate's going to be here that long. I hope he is, but I don't think he will be. So, let's play him now and let him eat and give Trevor some rest. But Nate's going to be special. And Rob coming in this class, he's going to be sitting behind Nate for 2 years, maybe 3. And in the meantime, we're going to bring in another talented running back and another talented running back. If Rob doesn't demonstrate that he's willing to work his ass off in the offseason, Rob will be out of here after year 1. Even though he's the number 2 player in the state, he's the number 2 running back in the nation, and the number 14 player nationally. That's the standards we have in Athens. Not only do you have to be talented coming out of high school, but you got to work your ass off. Because every year, there's more talented players coming in. And if they work harder than you, guess who's going? The guy that's not busting their ass. That's who's going. So, Rob Clemens, he's a homegrown talent, like I said before, but he's going to have to bust his ass. But Ethan McCoo is a player that I'm very excited about. Bristol, Connecticut. He's a quarterback, scrambler. But Ethan wasn't even on our radar at any point in the season until somewhere around week 8 to 10, somewhere in that area, is when we threw him on the board. We didn't really start throwing points at Ethan until about week maybe 9, week 10 at the earliest. And the only team who was recruiting Ethan at the time was Utah. He's way too talented of a player to end up in Salt Lake City. At least he appears to be. Now, if Ethan doesn't work, if he don't have a high ceiling that he can hit, Ethan's going to get cut. That's just the way it is. A guy who, would be a cornerstone for another program is just the guy here in Athens. So when we were able to pull the coup and get Ethan right before signing day to fully commit to Athens, that was a big get for us. We went out, we celebrated that day. Not only were we able to keep a talented player out of the hands of a potential opponent on the national stage, but we were able to get a guy who, if he works his ass off, can be extremely special. In the same vein as what Carson Beck was, but he can run. So, we're extremely excited to see what Ethan can be. And we're extremely excited to see whether or not Ethan's got that work ethic to be that guy. But we'll find out shortly, man. And when we do, the nation will find out as well. But, I'm excited about what we have here in Athens and what we're building. And anytime you can prevent a player from going to an opponent, that's a great victory, I believe.
I couldn't agree more, Coach. That's how you stay on top.
How you stay on top.
All right, so let's move on to what did it mean to you to win that golden national championship? What did it
Oh
mean
man,
to you whenever you got to hold it and hoist it up?
it meant everything. It meant everything. We've been quiet all year. We've been chopping away, chopping wood, but we had not really been out there in the limelight talking shit to anybody. We knew what we were capable of doing. And we knew, if we take care of business, we will accomplish this. So when we had the opportunity to lift that trophy at the end of the year, it meant a whole lot because there were a lot of guys who did a lot of talking. And all that talking they were doing, I got it in hand, national title is mine. They thought that, and mainly you got that coach up there in Penn State. He believed that because he played me in other leagues where it didn't matter, that he had the upper hand. What he didn't realize is we show up when it matters most. And again, this is that practice mindset. Practice. If we ain't playing for a trophy, it's practice.
It's not just a trophy, Coach. In this league, you were playing for some money. So it's a whole new meaning.
The contract comes with winning championships. So you got to win championships in order to get that contract. But when I play a player, if we don't have a trophy on the line, it's practice. That's my mindset. If there's not a trophy being played for, it's practice. So if we're just practicing, you're not going to see my A game unless there's a trophy on the line. And that coach up there in Penn State, he was talking a lot of shit before we played that game, believing that, he got it in hand. They got the championship. They got not knowing. The second I got by Alabama, I knew that trophy was mine. Now, you might not believe that, but we wore black jerseys for a reason.
It was a funeral?
Like, we wore our black jerseys for the celebration pictures afterward. It wasn't because, intimidation of the other team or any shit like that. It was purely for the celebration afterwards. That's how confident I was walking away with that national title. There was no doubt. There was no need for practice. I didn't have to go and try to study old film on this team. I didn't do none of that. I saw, the great thing about me knocking my game out early and not running from my opponent like Penn State and Florida State did with one another. I got to watch that game. My game was already out of the way. I'm waiting on my opponent. Who's it going to be? I got to watch that game. And the second that it was confirmed what I was going to see, I knew that national championship was mine. I knew it. There was not a second of doubt in my mind. That's why when Carson had that ball with 1:19 left, I knew we was going to be dancing in the end zone. And you look on the feed in the Discord group, you'll see my players dancing in black jerseys. We had that queued up, ready to go. There's a reason, like I said, we wore black jerseys in that game.
It was premeditated.
I knew I was winning that national title. I knew that trophy was mine. So when we were able to raise that trophy, I was extremely excited. And then the icing on the cake was that we beat Penn State. The icing on the cake was that we got to hurt Penn State's feelings. Because he believed that money was his. He believed that game was his before he ever stepped on that field. But the difference between he and I is my thumbs is my thumbs. His thumbs is his thumbs. My thumbs is better than his thumbs. I believe that 100%. If I don't
And
beat
what's
myself,
crazy is
I don't lose game. So we
what's
didn't beat
crazy is,
ourselves, so we
Coach.
didn't lose that game.
Not trying to cut you off, but you know what's crazy, Coach? Ever since you
What's
beat
that?
him in that national championship and all the other leagues he's played in, he's been different. He's not as dominant as he used to be. It's like you did something to his mental capacity to where he doesn't play like he used to. He doesn't play with that confidence. He plays with a little bit more timidness because he played me in the national championship for the high school league and lost by 3 points. But I
I
was
don't
up.
think it's okay. I'm sorry, I
No,
didn't
no,
mean to
no,
cut
no,
you
no,
off.
no, 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 no. You're fine. I was up 34-7, and I was just sitting there, and I was just like, "What happened? What happened to this man? He came, and he was starting to coming back and everything, but it just, it's not the head coach at Penn State that we have seen all year, and I really think you did something to his mental psyche, and that
Yeah,
right there. No, 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 you're fine. Go ahead.
I wouldn't necessarily say I did something to his mental psyche. I think I broke down the facade that everybody had built up around this guy. Like he's this great user, he's this great coach. Something that I realized about the young man is if his team is not better than yours and your thumbs are halfway decent, you're gonna win the game. If he can't throw a bomb on you and his 99 speed wide receiver runs by your guy, he's not gonna win the game. This guy's not over there playing chess. He's playing checkers. You know, there's nothing complex about him and his game. And we expose that to the world. So now everybody can see exactly what he is. And yes, we crushed his confidence a little bit, but at the same time, I believe it was a false confidence. It was never really there because who was he playing? Name somebody he played and he beat. I can't think of anyone.
I don't know, that game against the Utes, that was his toughest game of the year.
He was playing a team that his team was 10 points better than.
That is true. That is true.
I don't know if they were actually 10 points better than the Utah Utes because I don't know what they had on their roster. But it's Utah. You know, it's Utah. And another thing, you know, Penn State was doing a lot of, I don't know how often his games were monitored and how often people paid attention. They put up a whole lot of stats over there. But, you know, his running back runs for 300 whatever yards against Oklahoma. Oklahoma's garbage. Absolute garbage. And there were many teams in that Pac-12 conference that was losing to that Oklahoma team. Many teams. And they were a straight garbage trash team, bottom feeder, in my opinion. That's what the team itself in Oklahoma was a good team. Skill level of the user in Oklahoma, garbage. Absolute garbage. So Penn State, you know, had an inflated ego because he put 100 points up on this guy. And he was beating the computer's ass. And he was doing this and he was doing that. The thing is, you can't run all that cheesy glitch shit against users that you can against the CPU. When you got, you know, X's and O's and your thumbs matter, that's when you find out, you know, what a player is. And I'm not, you know, I can't take anything away from the guy because I beat the guy by 4 points. But, you know, he got some help there at the end of the game. You know, rolls of the dice. It's a video game. It happens.
Yeah.
He made the most of his opportunities. But when it mattered most and his booty hole got tight, he resorted to run committee.
He shit the bed. You can say it. He shit the bed.
No, it's not that he shit the bed because, you know, shit in the bed is, you know, you do something stupid, it costs you the game. He was not going to win that game. His thumbs were not good enough. His mind was not good enough. But he resorted to run committing I've never
guess so.
run committed on somebody ever.
Yeah.
I look at it, it's soft. Not just it's soft. It's something that should not be in the game. But it is. There ain't nothing you can do. Yeah, you can use it, whatever. But he run committed. If he'll run commit, what else will he do? He had a game where his damn defensive end had 8 sacks. He should have been on sanctions for that. But, the commissioner, I don't know if it's his homeboy or what, or he just didn't see it, sleep on the job. I have no clue what was going on with that. But when the man posted 8 sacks against the computer, it should have been on sanctions. But he got to play out the rest of the season. Ain't nothing you can say about it. Season's over now. I'm just, just using it as an example of the type of shit that you can do against the computer is not the same shit you can do against a user, especially a user that's out there playing chess. And that's what we did. We played chess. We knew what would work. We envisioned it working, and we went out and it worked. And in key moments in that game, we knew exactly what he was going to run, and we were sitting there waiting. And he ran exactly what we thought he was going to run. And it was wild. It was 4th down and 5 yards. I knew he was going to throw the ball in the flat. 4th and 5. I knew where he was throwing it. And what did he do? He threw the ball in the flat. And those type of things, that's checkers versus chess.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Coach. I'd rather play chess than checkers any day. Well, let's finally let's say that you have, and I will say that you did a tremendous year. You cemented your legacy with this win. What advice would you give to aspiring coaches aiming to achieve the kind of success you had this season in the league?
Don't play Georgia.
Bang! I love it. I love the confidence.
Whatever you can do,
I love it.
make sure you don't play Georgia.
I
So
love
if
it.
that means winning your conference so that you end up on the opposite bracket from Georgia, better win your conference. If that means, begging the commissioner, don't put Georgia on my schedule, beg the commissioner not to put Georgia on your schedule. But
Well,
your
I
thumbs
was
is your
going to say
thumbs. You know what I'm saying?
that.
I can't give you some advice that is going to make your thumbs better. That's one of the reasons that I never coach football, because I can't tell you how to play football. Like, I can't tell you, do this, do that. It was just came natural to me. It was an instincts thing. So I
Gotcha.
can't tell you how instincts work. If your thumbs is your thumbs and you get beat 80-0 by an Alabama team in a conference championship, your thumbs is your thumbs. I can't give you any advice that's going to help make you better. You can practice against me all the time. You can play against me all the time. But you're still going to be out there eating checkers instead of playing chess. Your thumbs is your thumbs. So the advice I give to coaches is avoid Georgia at all costs. Don't come in the state to recruit. Don't ask to play that coach.
So, what would you say? Because I would love to have another shot at Georgia because that was a good game at the start of the season. We went all the way down to the end of the game. It was a good game through and through, and I would love to play against Georgia later in the year, let my team develop, but I would love to play Georgia at the end of the year. What do you say to that for Clemson? They have an opportunity.
Clemson playing Georgia. Who you beat? That's going to be my mantra moving forward. Everybody's coming to Athens, first off. If you're not in our conference, you're coming to Athens. Because who you beat? If you ain't beat nobody, why would I come to your stadium?
You're
If you
right.
ain't beat nobody, why would I play you at a neutral site? You got to come to Athens. Because what we do here in Athens is we whoop ass. I'm just playing with you, Coach. You know, Clemson, that was our closest game all year. Even counting the national championship, which we won on second to last play of the game. That was our closest game all year, was a Clemson game. And we saw a unique offense in that game, which gave our defense some problems from time to time. And we had never really played with Carson Beck. We didn't do any preseason matchups or anything like that. So it was our first time having Georgia on the field. It was my first time playing with that team. And so we had a lot of learning to do. And, you know, that was one of our stepping stones. We learned a lot of things in that game. And, you know, we walked away with the victory because my guys showed up when it mattered most. But it was a fun game to play. You know, I'm not going to lie and act like it wasn't. You know, the game was an exciting game. It was a fun game. And they went out there and they did their thing, man. Clemson gave us everything they could give us, and my guys responded. And they got that victory, and they walked out of there knowing that we have what it takes to win that trophy at the end of the year. That's what I walked out of that game, knowing and realizing. Because Clemson came out, they scored first. We were down 7-0, and it was 7-7. And we were up 14-7, and it was 14-14, and it was 21-14. You know, it was back and forth the entire game. We ended up winning 35-28. But, you know, we showed and we demonstrated to ourselves that we could win a national title.
I will say, though, my receiver, he came to me at the end of the game and said, Coach, I'll never drop another ball this season. And he didn't drop another ball because if he would have caught that pass, we would have went to overtime. But from that game on, I was very impressed with how
if he'd have caught that pass, you would have still had to score a touchdown.
You're right. You're right.
That pass just was turnover on down situation.
Yeah, I
That
had
wasn't,
no choice.
you know what I'm saying? He wasn't in the end zone. Drops the ball in the end zone. No, you still had to get there. Had to get the pay dirt. But yeah, that was a big, you know, part of it, you know, drop. But it's not like he dropped it on his own. We made a play at Georgia.
Yeah, you did.
So, you know.
You tipped it, and I was trying to throw it to that K Club and try to throw it into that little hole. He almost got it there, but Malachi Starks, which was incredible this year for Georgia, tipped it, and my receiver couldn't get to it.
We are gonna miss him. You know, we backed the Brinks truck up for him, trying to get him to stay, but you know, he wants to go play on Sundays. He's done all he can do on the college level. You know, we'd have loved for him to come back and be the anchor of our defense. You know, we were going to showcase him where he was going to have a real opportunity to win the Heisman as a defensive player. The numbers we had planned on putting up with Malachi this year. He was going to hurt a lot of people. Another year under his belt, another year of training, he was going to hurt a lot of people on the field. But, you know, he's decided to take his talents to the NFL, which I'm not mad at him for. You know, that's every kid's dream. You know, when they go to play college football, is to play on Sunday. So I understand that's what he wants to do, and I'm happy for him. You know, Malachi is an extremely gifted and special player, and we will miss him. We will miss him a lot. At the same time, we're Georgia, man. We're gonna find the next Malachi. He out there somewhere. He may be on this roster now. He may be in the portal. He may be a guy that we need to go find in the portal right now. But we're going to have us another Malachi Starks. We're going to have a special team over here. And as long as we do what we need to do, we'll win the national championship again. That is our goal. National championship or bust. You know, we kind of glossed over the Utah Utes a little bit. I want to give a little love to their coach, man. I really believe what he had, he was the coach of the year. Even though, you know, I did what I did. I won a national championship. I got to hoist the trophy. He voted against my player winning the Heisman. I'm okay with that. What he did with what he had, I believe he was the coach of the year. And if the guys out west are not careful, they let him put something together. That was one of the main reasons I went and took McCool from him. Couldn't let him have a piece in place that he could build off of. because he
Yeah,
could
because
end
once
up
you get him
being
to build, he gonna be rolling, rolling.
my biggest challenge because he's determined to run the ball. And you've got to be determined to run the ball on this game in order to win a championship. That was something that I learned in the SEC championship game when Trevor did not get the ball. Trevor had maybe 6 carries in that game. And we lost because of it. We went away from the run early and never came back to it later. And then in the conference championship, or not the conference, in the semifinal, we corrected that. In the national championship game, Trevor Etienne had 26 carries for 136 yards. And we were playing against a team who had dubbed themselves the Aftershock Boys. Like their claim to fame was we the Aftershock Boys. We beat up running backs. Well, after that game, Trevor Etienne was dancing in the end zone. And the Aftershock Boys laid up in a corner. Because
Yeah,
at no
because
point in the
he
game
got
did we
tired of
take
them
him out.
being on social media saying we're gonna take you out, we're gonna take you out. He got tired of that. He said, "All right, that's it. You lit a
Nah,
fire in my
nah,
ass."
man, I don't really think Trevor, bought into the social media claims because, all kind of people do that shit. But it was from what they had been saying all year long about who they had played against. We paid attention to that, what they were saying about their competition and what they did to their competition. So I knew when the game time came, we didn't have any bulletin board material. I just knew from what the man was saying before the game got there, before he knew he was going to be playing Georgia. Them Aftershock Boys. That's all I was hearing. Every time Penn State was on TV, them Aftershock Boys. Them Aftershock Boys. He even had the commissioner out there talking about Aftershock Boys. So we were determined, okay, when we get an opportunity to play against these guys, I'm going to run the ball down their throat. That's exactly what we did. Ran the ball down their throat. At the end of that game, there were Penn State players going off the sidelines injured. They was burning timeouts. On my final drive, there was a timeout burned for one of their players to get off the sidelines. I didn't have a single player leave the game hurt. Not one. And I ran the ball with Trevor Etienne 26 times. That means they had 26 opportunities to put that aftershock on him. And he was dancing at the end of the game. He wasn't laid up hurt. He wasn't laid up, beat up, worn, torn. He was dancing. And he's the undersized running back. But he was dancing. Chances are we'll see Penn State again next year in the playoffs or maybe even in the national championship. Who knows? We'll see. But Trevor came back. Trevor is the cornerstone of our team. And we're going to build off of him. As he goes, we all go.
Well, Coach, I just want to give you a congratulations again on an incredible season and well-deserved championship. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing what's next for those Georgia Bulldogs.
Well, Arch, you listening to this, Arch? Come fuck with us. You're the missing piece for us to go back to the championship. Not just this year, but for 2 years after that. If you stay that long. Chances are you're going to be going pro, if not this year, but the year after. So, why not come win 2 championships and go out, as a Georgia legend? I know you from Louisiana. I know your granddaddy went to Ole Miss. Uncle went to Tennessee. Your other uncle went to Ole Miss. But your daddy was the best player of them all, and he would have came and played at Georgia if he had gotten hurt. So just come over here to Georgia, come win you a couple championships, shit on everybody else, and get you a Heisman Trophy while you at it. But the rest of your coaches out there, Utah, I know you listening to this. Keep building over there, Coach. I see something special in you guys and your type of play. You got something special over there. If you can get the recruits in You can build something, but you may want to consider taking a job at a different school. I don't know if you're going to be able to get what you need at Utah. Who else? Who else we got out there? We got Arkansas, garbage. Um, Penn State is Penn State. Checkers. Some new users in the league. We'll see what they do. Alabama's going to be our biggest competition going forward. They lost their quarterback same way we lost ours, though. So it'll be interesting to see what he does as far as quarterbacks go. But I look forward to this next season, man. We're talking a lot of shit on this little interview, and it's a lot of it's tongue in cheek. But my guys, one thing that I am going to say is we're going to show up. We're going to compete in every game that we play. Whether we win that game or not, I don't know. This next season is going to be determined a lot on our quarterback. If we're playing with one of these guys on roster, they got to work their asses off. They don't work their asses off, there's going to be a lot of changes going on. But, we have the talent at our offensive line. We have the talent at our running back position. We have the talent at tight end. We got the talent at defensive line, linebackers, and in our secondary. We have the talent to compete for a national title, so I expect to be back in the hunt for the national title. Will we go out there and win the title, defend our title, and win another one? We'll see. The only thing that's going to determine that is how these players show up and play. If they're all about the game, then we're going to be fine. If they show up at game time, we're going to be just fine. If they just show up in practice and don't show up in the game, when it matters most, then yeah. We're going to be sitting at home watching, whoever play for the national championship, play for the national championship. But we expect to be there this year. I don't expect to be anywhere else but playing for the national title, raising that trophy once again. But you got a lot of work ahead of us. And that's going to begin in the offseason. We got a motivator. I'm a motivator, head coach. So every position is going to get that off-season training that we need them to get. So that'll be a very cool thing that happens. I expect to see some boosts at the quarterback position because they're getting that offseason, put in work, training boosts. They're going to put in work at O-line. They're putting in work D-line, putting in work at the linebackers in the secondary and the wide receivers. The running backs are not putting in work, and we're okay with that because they're already good. But should we get another 5 points, we're going to be putting in work at running back before the training happens. So we'll see what happens, though, man. I'm excited to see what happens this next season. I'm decided. What's wrong with me? I'm excited to defend my national title. I know everybody's going to be gunning at me. Nobody's happy that Georgia won that championship except for Georgia. I believe that, But that's, everybody wants to win the championship. That's what I would expect. I wouldn't expect people to be rooting for me, but they're rooting for themselves, and that's totally fine with me. When the poll went up, I think two people picked Georgia to win the national title. 4 people picked Penn State to win the national title, and even while we were playing the game, it was tied at halftime. People still picked Penn State to win the game. I think a halftime poll might have been split 4-4, with one of the votes being me. So it's kind of crazy, but people were rooting against Georgia, and I get it. But a play that was key in that national championship that I forgot to mention, man, and I just remember when I brought up the halftime thing. We were trailing with 33 seconds play at halftime. We were before the half. We were down 17-10. Carson Beck took us down the field and we scored. The guy was special, man. He threw an amazing ball to Humphreys, and Humphreys went and got it. I thought it was going to be an overthrow, and Humphreys went and got it. Man, that kid Humphreys, he's special too. We got a lot of special kids over here at Georgia, man. I'm excited to get them on this field and see what they can do this next season. We're going to have like a 1 month long off season. But, when we get back on that field, and we get to whooping ass, them dogs is gonna do what they do. If you want to win a championship, recruits, come to Athens. Everybody else, they worried about practice. We worried about the game. Not practice, but the game. But, I'm excited. We're excited here in Athens. Thank you for the interview, for putting up with my rambling and everything else that I'm doing. The last thing I'm going to say is go Dogs.
I was just about to say that. You can't leave an interview without saying go Dogs. Well, it's been wonderful to have you here, Coach Roscoe. Whether you're an esports team looking for a sponsorship, a streamer building your brand, or a fan of the game, we've got something for you here at Prozone Game Division. It's more than a game here to us here at Prozone. It's a lifestyle. So hit us up, follow the socials, and let's make moves, man. Prozone Gaming Division, where champions are made.